is up to us between now and August 8th. We have an opportunity to raise the threshold to 60%. And some people say this is all about abortion. Well, you know what? I'm pro-life. This is 100% about keeping a radical pro-abortion amendment out of our Constitution. The left wants to jam it in there this coming November.
That was Ohio Secretary of State Frank LaRose saying the quiet part out loud, saying that anti-abortion rights activists are willing to dismantle their democracy to keep Ohio voters from having a say. The amendment to the Constitution, which voters will decide on tomorrow, would change the threshold for ballot initiatives to pass from a simple majority to a 60% supermajority. The initiative was an attempt by the legislator to defeat a ballot initiative, which would let voters in Ohio decide whether or not abortion was legal in the state by raising the bar so high that the initiative could not pass. And anti-abortion rights advocates should be scared. In every state since the Dobbs ruling where voters have been able to weigh in on abortion, they have voted to protect abortion access against what legislators have been trying to do. More than 530,000 Ohioans have already voted early. Joining us now is Senior Staff Attorney for the Center for Reproductive Rights and lead attorney in Zurabowski versus State of Texas case, Molly Duane. Maya is also back with us. Maya, let's start with you. Walk us through, what is happening here. Voters, in Ohio, it required a simple majority to be able to pass this ballot initiative to protect women's rights. So Republicans, and certainly those that are against abortion rights, instead of playing by the rules, instead of accepting the outcome of a democracy, have changed the threshold and now raised it, or trying to raise it to 60%, making it nearly impossible for Ohioans to pass that ballot initiative.
This is just rule rigging in order to silence the majority of the state, because that's exactly what this does. The ballot initiative itself is direct democracy, right? It's allowing voters to go to the polls and say directly what laws they want or don't want, in this case, in the Constitution. And what they know and what they see is the polling in the state of Ohio. And frankly, this rule rigging started even before abortion, because we saw it in the voting arena, right? Making it harder for folks to vote. Even as recently as January, we have seen the efforts like strict voter ID laws. We've seen early polling sites closed, voter roll purging. But all of this is really amounting to the same thing, which is minority rule over the majority and silencing voters, because they know what the polls are telling them. And I just want to say a little bit about what's at stake, although Molly can do this even better. But, there are doctors who are not able to deliver emergency care to a woman giving birth, life at risk, without stopping the action and spending 15 minutes going through documents for approval, because they risk potentially criminal prosecution. Doctors around the state have been saying, we have now been violating our Hippocratic oath because people are in more danger now than they were when we had the right to deliver health care. That is what is on the ballot, and this is what the rule rigging is preventing voters to speak to directly, including women, their own experience with their own health care.
Molly, this is a state that we should note where a 10-year-old who was the victim of sexual assault had to go out of state to receive abortion care. You've got clients in your state of Texas nearly dying and had their ability to have children in the future severely impacted as a result of what is happening there. What are these legislators fighting to protect exactly?
You'd have to ask them, but it sure is not pro-life to me or any of my clients, right? What we know is that abortion is a winning issue. When voters vote on abortion, it's a winning issue, from California to Kansas. And so really, as you said, they're saying the quiet part out loud. And I think what's interesting about this is that when the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, they explicitly said, leave it to the voters. And what we're seeing is that anti-abortion activists are not willing to stop at anything to ban every woman, every pregnant person from having an abortion, even if it's necessary to save her life or her health. And that's what our case is about in Texas. And even there, the state is saying this case should not move forward. These plaintiffs should have and should continue in the future to be sick at the verge of death until they're eligible for an abortion. And guess what? Voters don't like it.
You brought up Texas. I want to squeeze in a quick break, but I do want to talk to you about Texas and why the state of Texas is, in this case, trying to restrict women's rights, even though the Supreme Court in that state tried to at least expand some rights for the time being. Please don't go anywhere.
I don't feel safe to have children in Texas anymore. I know that it was very clear that my health didn't really matter, but my daughter's health didn't really matter. And that's heartbreaking.
I just kept telling myself and my baby that I'm so sorry. She had no mercy. There was no mercy there for her.
The reason why I might not be able to get pregnant again is because of what happened to me as a result of the laws that they support.
All right, so that was the plaintiffs in a case seeking to get the state of Texas to clarify just when doctors can intervene to save a woman's life or health under the state's strict abortion ban. On Friday, a Texas judge actually ruled that the ban was too extreme and that women with serious pregnancy complications should be able to receive treatment and that doctors should not face the threat of criminal charges. And yet another example of the cruelty being the point. The state attorney general immediately appealed the judge's ruling to the Texas Supreme Court, which blocked the injunction from taking effect. We're back with Molly Wayne, lead attorney in that case against Texas, and Maya Wiley is here on set with me. Molly, I misspoke earlier when I said that the Texas Supreme Court had made that decision. It's now gone up to the Texas Supreme Court, but what was it like for your clients to have this victory only for it to be immediately snatched away by the Deputy Attorney General?
I mean, it was truly amazing for my clients to have this victory. We're talking about people who have gone through unimaginable hell, right? Watching their child die in front of their eyes, becoming septic while waiting for abortion care, and losing their reproductive functions as a result. And, you know, Amanda Zarowski, the lead plaintiff in the case, said that for the first time in a long time, she cried for joy. And when I called Samantha Cassiano, one of the other women who testified, she said a similar thing, right? And what was so important about this case is that real women came to court and told their stories. And the staff from the Attorney General's office had to look them in the eyes when they said, your testimony doesn't matter. We don't even think you should be allowed to testify. And if anything, it's your own fault for not being able to get pregnant. I mean, truly, the arguments that they made in court were so offensive and inhumane that it was shocking to watch.
Yeah, the dehumanization, the cruelty is the point, as we've been saying. Molly, what are the next steps in this case? How confident are you that your clients will ultimately prevail in the state of Texas? And if not, what do you do next?
Well, it's a long road. As we know, we have litigated at the Center for Reproductive Rights in Texas many, many times. And unfortunately, in state court in Texas, an injunction is lifted immediately upon filing the notice of appeal. So we knew that this was coming, but we were prepared for it. And we are prepared to fight this case all the way up to the Texas Supreme Court, because truly, this is the bare minimum. And we think everyone should be able to agree on this, which is that, you know, when a patient has a life-threatening medical emergency, when their health is on the line, their doctor should be able to provide medical care and should do so in concert with their medical judgment. Isn't that what we all would want our physicians to do in the same situation? So the fact that the state won't even agree on this, I think really shows how extreme their position abortion is, not ours.
So let me pick up on that point, Maya, that Molly just raised, which is we expect our physicians to do everything in their power to save our lives, certainly the lives of women when they're on the operating table. What is Texas trying to defend here? What is the argument that they're making about why a doctor cannot save the life of a woman?
I can't answer that question, Eamon, and my mother's from Texas. I think the reality is it's a fight over ideology rather than health. It's a fight over dominance rather than democracy. It is a fight that has very little to do with whether or not we believe in freedoms or whether we are going to have a regime that is going to tell people who they are, how they can live, what decisions they can make about themselves and their bodies. And it's why we have so many Americans including Americans who themselves would make personal decisions not to have an abortion, right? This isn't about what your viewpoint is on a medical procedure. It's about whether or not the government should be in the bedroom with you, or the government should be standing between you and your doctor, telling your doctor what he or she can and cannot do, what he or she can or cannot advise you, or they will face criminal penalty. But I think this goes back to both Molly's point, both to what we're seeing in Ohio, is that we have these are politically elected people who are making political decisions, not decisions based on what a democracy truly is and what it means to have civil and human rights.
And as you said earlier, it is against the majority will, because the majority of Americans do not support this. Maya Wiley, Molly Blaine, thank you very much for the both of you for spending some time with us this afternoon. I greatly appreciate your insights. We're gonna have a quick break. We'll be right back.